Today we're returning to the biggest podcast beef in retail media. Yes, I'm coming back to revisit some of the arguments that Jason Goldberg put forward on a recent episode of his podcast, The Jason and Scott Show, where he shared a point of view which, frankly, I think a lot of people have but aren't saying, and that is that retail media is not that exciting once you step out of Amazon's turf. And he had a few key arguments to make. Sponsored product ads dominate the ecosystem. Small 3P sellers are the ones actually buying most of the sponsored product ads, and that the regional or specialty retail networks lack true incremental dollars. And so I heard that, I totally took the bait. I wrote up a quick response 3 weeks ago in the hopes of buying myself a little bit more time to procure good data and formulate a better argument. Well, the time has come, 3 weeks to think about it, 3 weeks of really good comments from the community, and 3 fresh sets of new data. I'm ready to pull the thread again. Just to be clear, me and Jason are actually friends in real life, so consider this beef pasture raised, not cage fought. Let's jump in. So I want to share 3 lenses that we can look at retail media through in order to quantify the opportunity beyond just Amazon, beyond just sponsored product ads, beyond just the long tail of media buyers. So we'll start with lens number 1. Efficiency is greater than share of wallet. There is a marketing mix modeling platform called Keen Decision Systems that's been putting out some really great content lately. And they've found a widening gap between where ad dollars sit and where returns accrue across these different retail media networks. So quite interesting. This breakdown doesn't quite foot to the data that we see all the time from eMarketer showing that Amazon and Walmart between them have an 85% share of the market. Keen's breakdown, which has a bit more weighting on the mid-market size brands, they've actually found a share of retail media accruing to Amazon at 64%, which is quite a bit lower than the eMarketer estimate. But that really accounts for a majority of the budget share, but not nearly as much as that data that we've seen from eMarketer. So first of all, that's quite interesting. But second of all, what they found that's really fascinating is the marginal ROI metric, which is what the next incremental dollar is expected to earn from a media dollar. And so it's sort of hard to explain on a podcast. I hate talking about stats because it's hard to follow. But for Amazon, it's 0.71. Walmart has a better marginal ROI at 0.9. And then Target and Kroger actually have really impressive marginal ROIs at 1.08 and 1.63 respectively. So while Amazon has almost 2/3 of ad spend, they sit on the flattest part of the response curve with the lowest incremental profit per ad dollar. In the long term, advertisers chase efficiency. When I shared these initial findings, the response from industry veterans was pretty telling. As my old boss, Jared Belsky, commented on my original post, media planners always ask, how will this dollar do versus the next available spot? If you manage a finite budget, whether you're a brand or an agency, your next incremental dollar should follow the steepest response curve, not the biggest pie slice. And this data from Keen suggests that curve is starting to move away from Amazon, and smart media buyers will follow the money. Lens number 2, inventory and advertiser mix are broadening. Another comment from Jason is that most of retail media spend is sponsored product ads, which are mainly purchased by small 3P sellers. And it's true that sponsored product ads still bankroll most retail media networks, but the coverage and formats are evolving. There was a new sponsored product benchmark report put out by the ad server technology company Pentaleap, which is a client of mine as a disclosure. But their benchmark report shows Home Depot, CVS, and Best Buy have all added brand carousels to their formats and are even dabbling in video. And why do these formats matter? We can look at one specific use case with Best Buy. After it introduced bottom of page brand carousels, Pentaleap found that overall sponsored product coverage leapt up to 97% coverage, overtaking Walmart in one quarter. These carousels unlock inventory that the top grid of sponsored product ads can't reach, giving brands extra reach without crowding the prime slots. So the very shape of the marketplace is widening on two fronts. So with that data, we can see what can be bought, that we have these new ad formats outside of sponsored product ads, but also we're seeing the shape evolve in terms of who is buying it. Pentaleap's report also shows the makeup of the advertiser base is actually broadening. So there's a concept called head, torso, tail when it comes to advertisers, and that means the combined footprint of large advertisers, mid-sized advertisers, and small advertisers being the head, torso, and tail. And so a jump in the torso plus tail share means more mid-market and long-tail brands are buying ads, not just the handful of giants. So Pentaleap's data shows over a 6-month period that the torso and tail advertisers have expanded rapidly for grocery in particular. There's been a little bit of a more muted change in makeup for specialty, but still heading in the direction of more torso and tail advertisers. And then multi-category, which is going to be your probably just the Amazons and Walmarts of the world, didn't really see any change, but that's because they actually have a very long tail already at about 51% of advertisers being long tail. So this is showing us that there's more of a robust mix of advertisers across these different segments than strictly just talking about third-party sellers. And finally, lens number 3, Offsite, is where Amazon's media moat starts to drain. So we're seeing some evolutions in format and broader advertiser participation, and that signals a maturing ecosystem. But the real disruption happens when retail media breaks free from retailers' own on-site properties entirely. So the third piece of research I'm going to share with you today is eMarketer's retail media forecast update for the first half of 2025. Just dropped this month, authored by the rockstar analyst Sarah Marzano. And there's many gems in this report, but the one I want to call out, it shows an ecosystem that's shifting beyond on-site advertising. So eMarketer's prediction is that off-site retail media spend will jump 36% in 2025. And within off-site, we're typically talking about in social media are big pieces of that. CTV alone is going to grow 43%. On-site ads still rule in terms of ad spend, but its share is going to slide. On-site advertising still rules, but its share is going to slide to 73% by 2029. And crucially, Amazon's share of ad spend is 79% on-site. This is where, like I mentioned, the numbers between Keen and eMarketer don't line up, but the comparison here is Amazon accounts for 79% of on-site ad spend, but only 69% of off-site ad spend. And when we look at the whole retail media landscape, that's a $4 billion opening for other retailers to claim. Again, off-site is where Amazon's media moat starts to drain. Off-site ads run on partner channels. So you think streaming, TV apps, news websites, social media, etc. And a handful of retailers with those deals all appear in the same arena. At that point, it's no longer about who has the biggest storefront. It's about who can wield the best shopper data to hit the right person with the right message. So offsite is a really exciting space for retailers, especially the long tail. Amazon is playing a different game with offsite, which is building their own channels, whereas the retailers are partnering with offsite publishers and building a business proposition there. And that's where a lot of the growth in retail media is going to come from. So wrapping things up here, the reality is sponsored product ads on Amazon have worked really, really well for brands of all sizes for a very long time. And Amazon built a great product here. They have every right to their current dominance in that area. But retail media is also becoming more sophisticated. There's competition from new entrants. There's more demand from media buyers. There's better technology. So we are seeing an evolution of retail media from being synonymous with sponsored product ads on Amazon to meaning much, much more. These are the tea leaves that I'm reading. I hope that this sparks even more conversation in the space. Definitely check out those resources that I mentioned. I'll link up to them in the show notes. And you can also read a written version with more data and quotes on the newsletter. You can check it out on LinkedIn or at retailmediabreakfastclub.com. Thanks for tuning in.